All right, you ready?
Yeah.
Let's do this thing. Hey, everybody, welcome to MCAT Radio. That's right, MCAT Radio is here, and it's live here from the Missoula Public Library,
Yep.
KFGM 101.5, Frenchtown, Missoula, Bitterroot.
Yes.
There we go. I
Welcome
didn't do the
back.
call signal all last week. I remember that. I was like listening to it. I was like, oh, wait, we didn't do the call signal like once.
Whoops.
Oops, sorry.
Anyway, that's Scott.
Yes.
And I'm Neil.
Yes. I'll let you introduce this because
Yeah.
I do most of the talking a lot of the times too. It's just because
Yeah.
I'm in front of the computer with a bunch of resources right in front of me for notes and everything.
Yeah, well, you know, Scott, the Golden Globes just happened last night. Yeah.
Yes.
You did not tune in?
I did not tune in at all. I am a fan of Nikki Glazer's comedy. She did some really good stuff. She did a really good job with the roast of Tom Brady.
Mm-hmm.
I highly recommend that. Of course, that's not for the kid audiences out there. It's definitely for mature audiences. Golden Globe is definitely toned down a little bit more for more PG-13 plus audiences. Her comedy opening act probably did fine because she did it so well the first time. They asked her to do it again this time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've got a bunch of winners of the Golden Globes.
Who's your favorite winner?
Oh, good question.
Yeah.
Really, I honestly didn't see too many new movies last year.
Yeah.
Mostly I saw Sinners and K-pop Demon Hunters.
I know. We watched K-pop Demon Hunters to death during the summer camps.
Yeah. Pretty solid movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, solid animation. Sinners, I really liked. I do feel I didn't see it in theaters, so I feel like I missed out on some of the experience.
Yeah, I honestly think that it follows the same vein and the same kind of storytelling as From Dusk Till Dawn.
Mm-hmm.
Very much the same kind of vibe and feeling where you build up the world and then you just change the genre on its head.
I really liked that they made the vampires very polite.
Yeah.
I thought that was fun.
Yeah. Oh, they definitely tapped into the whole like hive mind mindset of
Yeah,
like the vampire.
Hive mind vampire. Yeah.
And that's also brings me to Pluribus, which again I will promote for folks.
Yes, which did actually win a Golden Globe.
Good for them.
Yes.
Was it Best Actress?
I think it might have been. Yeah.
I think, yeah, because Racey Horn, she's such a great actress, and she basically kind of carried the last season of Better Call Saul, because, for the first part, she was kind of like a pseudo-regular throughout the series, and they really built her up. And I really like what Vince Gilligan is doing for it. And not to mention, Albuquerque, New Mexico is their stomping grounds. They love filming down there.
The Golden Globes puts musicals and comedies together for the awards, so musicals and comedies compete, which I think is weird. But...
Well, because the whole idea of that was like musicals were very prevalent in old Hollywood, very much like westerns and other things. Because now we're living in a modern era where a lot of the movies nowadays are comic book, Marvel movies.
Or dramedies.
Dramedies are a big one because, Judd Apatow, Paul Feige, and all those directors, I definitely quasi-blame them for the transition from more traditional comedies of the late 90s, early 2000s, which if you watch now are like, oh, that's kind of problematic when you think about it, to more dramas where you bring in some of those kind of ideas and kind of like, where you sympathize with certain characters and understanding where they're coming from, but also have some hilarity along the way.
Wanda Sykes came out to roast some people like Bill Maher and the not present Ricky Gervais.
Right.
Yes.
Of course, Ricky Gervais loves roasting at the Golden Globes. He's hosted there so many times.
Yeah.
And, the whole point is that one of the things that...
She tore into him. She tore into him.
Well, I mean, because, they got to understand that, like, award ceremonies, and you invite a comedian, and part of that whole idea is that like having an award show for comedians is kind of like that's the whole point of like satirizing. It's like they see something and they're just like, how can I make fun of it? That's a comedian mindset. It's like no matter what happens.
Scott, you should have been watching because they played a parody of the Nicole Kidman AMC bumper.
That's so played out at this point now.
Yeah, but they did it for podcasts.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's about podcasts.
That's pretty funny, honestly. Because, that's the weird thing is that people will not sit down in movie theaters for 2 hours, 2.5 hours to watch a movie, but people will sit down and listen to a podcast for 4 or 5 hours.
I only do that if I'm, like, driving.
Yeah, exactly. Driving, most people drive to and from places, And then also, when they're working, they like to have something in the background, and podcasting is like the best thing to have in the background when you're listening to things. Heck, you might be doing something right now, and you're not even listening to us right now as we're talking.
Whoa.
But you like the comfort of our voices as we're talking about things.
If you're on Reserve Street right now,
Get
take
off.
a hard right.
No, not right now, but don't go on Reserve Street, because not only do you have to deal with highway traffic, but you have to deal with the other traffic as well.
Yes,
So it's
yes.
like stacks on stacks on stacks of terrible drivers.
Yes. So
And you, too, are a terrible driver if you're listening to this right now.
best song was won by K-pop Demon Hunters.
Yeah, why don't we just play that
Golden,
song?
yeah.
And then we'll talk about some of the programs MCAT and the radio station have to provide. So here is their titular song, Golden, by Huntrix. Okay. Okay, there we go. I'm just playing it, but I'm not going to let it play on our in between. So we'll talk about your Blender classes. We'll talk about those other things that we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to look at the library schedule, too, to see what's happening here. But yeah, who doesn't like a little bit of golden in their life? Lego Club is a big one here at the library, for sure. Art with a Purpose, Families First. Sweet.
Should we read an underwriting thing?
Oh, of course.
Well, then we can also, after this, we'll mention that Sinners won Best Score.
Yes.
We'll play Allied to You.
Mm-hmm. Honestly, like, I've kind of officially kind of moved past K-pop Demon Hunters in terms of just like, you know, I don't really listen to their songs as much, but I'll listen to it when it comes on.
Yeah.
So I'm at the point where I'm just like, if I keep on hearing this like nonstop, I'm gonna hate it and resent it just as much as I hate like
Sure.
the concept of oversaturation of like Taylor Swift.
Sure.
Yeah. So I'm kind of at the tightrope, and you know that's part about getting older is it's like you just start to learn to hate everything. Doesn't it feel like that? You're just like.
Anya's been really into Chapel Roan recently.
Oh yeah, I've heard about her.
Yeah.
She was the big competition in terms of like Grammys and stuff like that because a lot of people
Yeah.
were saying like, oh, she did such a great job. She's so great.
Well, in her song Femininomenon, she says "Get it hot like Papa John,"
Okay.
and they used that song in a Domino's commercial.
That is pretty funny, actually. Well, you know, like, you know, a lot of artists, you know, especially if they get their whole, like, you know, I can't imagine what kind of K-pop Demon Hunter songs are going to be playing during commercials.
Mhm.
It's like, it's a Hot Pocket. It's going to be golden. Here's the new golden Hot Pocket.
Right. Well, and then, you know, I was like, so the song's Femininomenon. I was like, I need to parody this as M. Night Shyamalan.
Exactly. Okay, about 30 seconds.
Okay.
So we come back, we talk about your blending classes, talk about editing classes. I've been seeing some people sign up for booking for our video editing lesson classes. Mary, the lady who brought in the thermal camera back because of the sensor was broken, she was here for orientation, and she wants to get more involved, and she wants to do like more videos moving forward, just trying to figure out kind of what she wants to do.
All right.
All right, we are back, and that was
Golden.
by Huntrix, the
Yeah.
fake band.
So
by
we're
K-pop
going to
Demon
throw
Hunters.
back to some more music in just a minute, but first we're going to talk about what's going on here at the library.
Yes, let's talk about some of the events. Starting tonight is your podcast lesson. So your podcast lesson, not podcast lesson, but your Blender class.
My Blender class. Yes, I was
Yes.
like, podcast, it's Monday.
Yes, because that's Tuesday night at 6 p.m., but we'll
Yes.
get to that in a second.
Yes, tonight from 6 to 8, if you would like to learn 3D modeling or animation, come on down to the MCAT studio on the first floor of the Missoula Public Library. I've been using Blender since February 2024 now. Wow.
Yes,
Yes,
big
almost
time.
2 years.
Yep, if you get a chance, me and Neil collaborated on a project last Halloween.
Halloween before.
Halloween before, mind you. And it's called Robud's Halloween Special.
Yes.
So if you want to check out some of our first iterations and Neil's first iteration for Blender and just my work in doing voices, I guess.
Wow.
I only have like the surfer guy, and then like the really
sad surfer guy.
and also the high pitched evil Skellyman, which is in the promo for our Saturday drop-ins, which we
Yeah.
do here at MCAT, which is kind of like a nice easy intro for kids wanting to learn animation and stuff like that. It's mostly stop animation. We got some Legos, we got some other things out here as well for kids to do some things. They're more than encouraged to bring some of their own toys and stuff if they want to bring them to life and create their own little stories through a thing called stop animation. Take a picture, you move the object, take a picture once again, and then when they're done with that, they can take another step upward and go to Blender, where they can build their own models from 3D virtual space.
Yeah, well, I got to tell you, if Blender keeps up with the traffic I'm getting, I'm going to have to start making it sign up only.
Yes.
Yeah.
For sure.
Spaces are limited.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have like 4 or 5 computers officially, and then you can have it a 6th computer, which is the one that we usually use for our
I
desk.
can technically get 7.
Yeah, that's true. We have the Macs, so we have...
And there's the Windows in the podcast room.
That is true.
Yeah.
Windows could do it for sure.
No, Windows is great.
Yeah.
For it.
But when it comes down to it, our Mac mouses are just not capable of doing it because they're just too sensitive.
Yeah.
They're touch mouses. They scroll left, they scroll right, they scroll up, they scroll down. It's great for editing, in which we do editing classes every Wednesday at 2 p.m. and 6 p.m. It's drop-in, but also we have the availability for people to sign up online at MCAT.org.
Yeah.
There's enough of your promo stuff. Other things that are happening in the library today includes Lego Club from 3 to 5 p.m. Happening to this afternoon. And then as we get into later this week, we're doing the Memory Cafe at 2 p.m. on Tuesday. And then Tuesday night, we have our podcast lesson at 6 p.m.
Yeah. So just a few minutes ago, we played Golden from K-Pop Demon Hunters, which just won Best Song at the Golden Globes. But it didn't win Best Score. It was up against Sinners, which had a great score.
Yes.
Great score. It's about blues. It's about Americana.
Yep.
And so they were up against the song "I Lied to You," but they won about that. But they lost the overall score. So we're gonna play "I Lied to You"
by Miles Catton. All right, there we go. It's going. Sweet. So this one is about 3 minutes. You got it in your head? Okay. All right, and then when we come back, we can talk about some updates on City Council.
This is also one of the coolest scenes in the movie. You know, because it's where it's like goes through time and there's other people playing music too.
Yep, because the whole point of him was trying to turn him into a vampire.
Yeah.
For the purpose of like the joining, because it's a little bit more connected spiritually.
Yeah, stealing his song.
Yep, and his soul.
Just like K-pop Demon Hunters.
Exactly. Let's see here. Let's see. I wonder. So we had a protest on Sunday for the ICE shooting.
Yeah, yes.
Here on Sunday. ICE out for good. Vigil. No anti-protesters or anything like that. All right. All right, about 40 seconds. Yeah, looks like they were just on the old bridge, Bear Track Bridge, the other day.
Yep, just yesterday.
Yep. And then we got a new politician guy looking to go against Zinke
Oh, yeah?
Yep, Sam Forstag. He's like the smoke jumper. He's like the union rep for the smoke jumper union.
Okay.
And he wants to run. He kind of looks like a young Kennedy.
Nothing bad ever happens to the Kennedys.
All right, we are back. And that was I Lied to You by Miles Catton. And if you recognize that song, it's from the motion picture Sinners.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ryan Coogler, all that stuff. Working on another project, including all the Doomsday trailers for Avengers.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, oh my God, they just did the X-Men one.
You know, I haven't watched any of the trailers.
They're just teasers, and they're just like, remember these guys?
Yeah, I saw
They're
that
gonna be in the movie,
Captain
too.
America's coming back or something. I don't know.
I don't know. Do you want to read some of the underwriting?
Sure.
You're listening to 101.5 KFGM, Missoula, Bitterroot, and Frenchtown.
KFGM programming is brought to you by Betty's Divine and Divine Trash Vintage, a locally owned shop with a fondness for both vintage gems and contemporary vintage-inspired clothing, shoes, and accessories for guys, gals, and gays, and theys. Betty's Divine presents a snapshot of Northwest styles with an emphasis on street-skate surf culture, as well as Americana classics. You can find their iconic mannequin Desmond or any of his co-workers on the magnificent hip strip in downtown Missoula.
Cool beans. Nice. All right, speaking of downtown, there was a vigil on Sunday for the victim of a knife shooting, Renee Good, here in Missoula, a protest. There wasn't any counter-protesters, but it was very much well attended on the Bear Tracks Bridge, holding up signs, people honking their horns, all that kind of stuff. They did another one on, of course, the Thursday, right after the incident.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a lot going on for sure, and it's definitely getting kind of crazy out there where, you know, you get accidentally shot by federal workers and then they just start being like, that person was a terrorist.
Ugh.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
It's like, dude, like regardless of what you believe on what side or whatever, the actions of a federal employee resulted in the death of a U.S. citizen.
Yeah.
That is basically, if you take out all the heart of everything around it, that is basically what happened, is the result of somebody who just ended a life.
Scott, I don't want to live in interesting times anymore.
Me neither. I wanted things to be boring and predictable. We have a nerd as a president who just is like, oh, we got to make sure that we invest in the turtles. Otherwise, the turtles are like, okay, whatever, dude.
I also want Al Gore as president.
Speaking of boring, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, you know, one of those things that are just kind of going on here. And they're like, you can't get away from these kind of like talks and everything like that. And, you know, I mean, who knows? I mean, we're living in very kind of like weird,
interesting times.
Weird times for sure. And well, that's happening. Of course, you know, let's rein it into some more local news here as well. Is that so? You know, we're going to talk a little bit more about politics,
Fear.
but local politics.
Fear.
Politics, boo! Democrat trying to run for U.S. Congressman in the Western against Ryan Zinke. Sam Forstag is looking to join the race and has plenty of eye candy and was there at Bernie's and AOC's visit during the Stop Oligarchy tour.
And you mentioned he's in the smoke jumper.
Yes, he is a smoke jumper. He is a union rep, and he has some cred there. And honestly, good luck. I mean, that's the thing. Is like he went to the union club last week, and he spoke to some folks.
Oh.
You know, kick off his uphill battle, convincing folks outside of Missoula. Hey, listen, if you're a Democrat, you pretty much have a lock for the Missoula demographic.
Sure.
Like, hands down. You might have to go to Lolo to convince some of those folks for sure. But
hey guys, I live just 8 miles away.
Exactly. Because, you know, that's the thing is like you can't just stay in Missoula and expect all the votes in Missoula to carry you forward, which is why that's the whole thing is like we have to burst this Missoula Democratic bubble if we're going to try to spread
Outreach.
that. And because, you know, a lot of the people in other communities are being basically told that Democrats are demons and the worst things ever and they want to spend all your money and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, yes, there's instances in which money has been thrown in the wrong places at the wrong time, but then there's places where money has been improved and improved the lives of the people. Yeah. And at the same time, it's like, what are we going to do about our social contract? You know, like should we have full communism, socialism, all that kind of stuff, which sounds good on paper. And we've had many of opportunities and practices, and there's always going to be that one or two people or groups of people who are just like, I want more than what the people are getting because I work harder than them, right? There's that kind of like mindset where it's just like, we're all in this together. Do we want to plant a seed for the kids of the future to have the shade that the grandparents don't get to enjoy because they can't wait that long for the tree to grow?
Personally, I want nukes to go off after I die. No more human race after me.
That's terrible way of thinking.
No,
That is a terrible way of
awful.
thinking. It's the worst
That's
way.
awful.
Like, it is just terrible. It's like and that's kind of like, it really feels like that's what the mindset really is. It's just like, people, we're not going to live forever.
Yeah.
We got to try to make the world as best as we can for as long as we live, and to assure it for the next generation. You know, for your kids, my kids, whoever kids, all that kind of stuff. It's like, we're kind of missing the point. And it's like, we got to make sure the kids know what we know. It's like, no, we got to let the kids know that they're in a safe place for them to grow and become the best versions of themselves.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And this is my platform. I will not rest it. No. But since, you know, like, one of the things is that we're so obsessed with politics, and I think the one thing that we should be really kind of focusing on is more local government and governance and just kind of what's going on.
Focus on the things you can change first. I mean, like,
Yeah.
you know, look.
If you want free bus services, we have it here in Missoula. We're one of the few communities in the United States that has a quote-unquote socialism in terms of our public free transportation.
We have public pools
Yeah.
paid for by the city. We have 2 water parks.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's great. Yeah, they're
Um,
also doing a survey. So if you're interested in doing a survey for our current Splash Montana, they have it online on their website, ci.missoula.mt.us, also through engagemissoula.com.
Yeah. Well, you know, like, one reason the Republican apparatus is so strong right now is because for 40 or 50 years they've focused on local stuff, the AM radio,
Yeah.
local television, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
They've really put their message out there for decades.
Yeah, I mean, even Rush Limbaugh's syndication.
Rush Limbaugh is a great example.
Yeah, Rush Limbaugh's syndication is still going strong in a lot of those southern states in the United States. I wouldn't be surprised if he isn't being copied and pasted into many other AM radios across the state of Montana.
Exactly.
Just a lot
So
of
what I'm
those
telling
same.
you is get into AM radio if you want to make a change.
Yeah. A lot of times, yeah. I mean, you know, like, one of the things is that last Monday during the city council meetings, they spoke about building a radio tower in conjunction with one of the churches in the Muscan Gully.
Yeah.
A lot of the local residents, you know, the 20-plus residents in the Muscan Gully are up in arms because they don't want to see an ugly tower that's like 80 feet tall in their backyard. And one of the things is that even here at this radio station, too, they wanted to build a tower on the Missoula Public Library, and the library was like, no. That shouldn't happen. And
Radio towers look cool, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, they're great and all, but they found a better way to figure it out and just kind of like have a microwave satellite that points right at Dean Stone, which helps amplify all the connections.
Yeah, speaking of which, you guys are listening to 101.5 KFGM.
Yes, and that's the courtesy of the microwave that is being pointed at Dean Stone from the library and helps span it out through your community.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that is an option that maybe that should be one of the things that they should do. Like media and radio and all that kind of stuff is kind of becoming more and more digitized, and you go to 1015kfgm.org to actually listen to this online on the radio. So everything's kind of digitized in its own right. So why don't we just utilize that to help them move forward? And they'd probably even save them a few bucks of putting a whole 80-foot tower in that area.
Probably.
So that's the thing. There's always other options rather than just being like, oh, we need a tower to basically broadcast a radio signal for our church. Yeah. So that's kind of like it's an ongoing thing right now. And there's a lot of people, you know, there's some people who are not happy about it. A lot of people, including with the church, want to be able to have that kind of as an option. You know, like, who doesn't want to have a radio equivalent of being able to go to these kind of stations and listen to, you know, church stuff.
If you want to make a radio show, KFGM is a community-driven radio station.
Of course.
All our DJs are from the community.
Yeah. Some have some great experience, some have very little experiences. But when it comes down to it, whatever you want your show is whatever you want your show to be. Because every week, me and Neil have no idea what kind of show we're going to make. Because we're just going off the fly and we play some music here and there. And, you know, since we're talking a little bit about community stuff, right now, MCAT is live streaming the Missoula City Club, and I'm actually going to play a clip for you guys from the live City Club clip, what they're talking about right now. I don't know what they're talking about, so it's just as much of a mystery for me as it is for you. And you can tune in live right now at our YouTube page at MCAT TV Missoula. So here is a quick little clip of what they're talking about.
Did you watch that thing I sent you? There's like, what if Seinfeld was shot today?
2 or 3 in case somebody of your neighbors steal your question, which happens.
Elaine,
We'll
he's
have a backup
performative.
question to ask.
He's performative, Elaine.
Coming around, we'll have 2 microphones. They'll come around. Please stand up. Introduce yourself, and then we don't have a ton of time, so if we could not have a big narrative, just speak pretty concise and get your questions asked, that would be awesome. Remember, we're here for civil discourse and free exchange of idea. I know this is a slippery slope, but we feel that this group has the maturity to respect those boundaries. Please start the discussion. We'll come back in about 10 minutes, and then we'll get some of your questions answered. Thanks much.
That was it?
Well, so yeah, I mean, they're going to break for 10 minutes, just in time. So you got a little scope of things, and people are going to be talking. Heck, I don't even know what's going on with that, so I'm going to have to double check to see the City Club, see what they're talking about. Because right now they're going on a 10-minute break, and if we go to the schedule events on their website at cityclubmissoula.com, basically what they're talking about today is the what and when of the why, updates on development of the why. And so this is where they have that federally funded workforce housing project that's going on right now. The panelists are Jeff Smith, Matt Merlot, Andrew Hagmeyer, and they've discussed plans for developing commercial and residential properties in the Y area of Missoula. So developers doing some developing and just talking about all sorts of things with that as well. And so right now they're at a 10-minute break, but they're here on the 4th floor of the Missoula Public Library, and we're live streaming it right now. So yeah, I mean, I wish they would have started talking about some stuff, but it looks like they did some preliminary stuff for the first half an hour. They'll take their break, and then they're going to doing their Q&A stuff in the next 10 minutes. So we might go back in there to see what they're going to be talking about. But for now, we're going to kind of move on and maybe throw it on over to some more music. Do you have any music requests, Neil?
Oh, I don't. But, while you find something, I could talk about lunch here in Missoula.
Oh, yes, it is lunchtime. And if you're out and about, we probably should have given you some options for lunch today if you're interested in, let's say, maybe the Mexican Moose would be good for those looking for some Mexican food. It's downtown across from the courthouse.
Eyote just closed, didn't it?
Which one was that?
That's the Mexican restaurant in the mall.
Oh, right. Okay. Rest in peace, folks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy because our buddy Jack, he's working at Mustard Seed. Shout out Jack, and he's saying that he's really liking the job. He's getting him some congruent hours. That's one of the things that he's definitely struggling with here in Missoula, and I think that many people listening can relate. Is that you can get a job, but eventually they start lowering some of your hours, and you're just like, I just can't keep up. The schedule is terrible. They're making me work at certain hours, but it seems they've been treating him pretty well.
Well, that's good. I remember when he got a job at what was the name of the grocery store that was where Hobby Lobby is now?
Hobby Lobby.
Wasn't it
Oh yeah,
Lucky's?
that's right. That was the one, Lucky's.
Yeah, Lucky's.
The investors pulled out.
But he got hired, but they didn't schedule him once.
Not at all.
Not a single
like
time.
They hired so many people, and then they just kind of like, okay, whoever shows up keeps their job, essentially.
Yeah.
It was pretty weird.
That was weird.
Yeah, and that's the thing about starting a whole brand new business, especially one that is somewhat publicly traded in some ways, where it's just like they appear, and then they hire a bunch of locals, and then they whittle them down to a certain degree, and then the professionals that were there to kind of help bolster the business to build it up to where it needs to be, because you need specialized managers, general managers to be there to make sure that they run on their way of doing things, so they train up the people to a certain degree, or a lot of times they just move people into the community to be the managers of that said area. And so that's where we get some of the trappings where like basic workers are local, but then you have the higher managers, specialized workers that come from out of town are the ones that kind of help build that infrastructure for their businesses.
Yeah.
And there's not very much opportunity for a lot of people to grow into their position.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm not saying it's like not possible. I'm just saying is that that's what I've been seeing a lot of times, especially when it comes to like, studios like Yellowstone Studios here in town. The best you can probably get is a featured extra.
No, yeah.
Otherwise, you have to go to California, get a SAG card, get a manager, go through all the audition process, spend thousands of dollars just to get to a point where you get that audition, unless you're lucky enough to look like a Chris Hemsworth.
It's hard to be an actor.
It is. Like, you
It's
can be the
really
best
hard to
looking
be an
person, but you can lack all sorts of things along
Yeah.
the way.
Yeah. I mean, look, as somebody who who usually works camera department, we always like to rib other departments. Everybody does.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, the grips, oh, the actors.
Yeah.
You know, but sets are collaborative, right?
Yeah.
So it's hard to work as an actor. It really is.
It really is.
Because you just don't get work a lot of the time. A lot of the time.
It's true. And like, you know, like one example, like in terms of just like what I really appreciate about in terms of collaboration and art is that the band Jungle Forever, if you get a chance to listen to them, I played it plenty of times on my on this radio show a bunch of times. I played Casio on the 74. They're just a beautiful blend of choreography, working with it, and just, you know, the choreographer, I watched the behind the scenes of making of on the 74 by Jungle, and big part of that was just like, we're basing our rhythm and movements to rhythm. So we're trying to make sure our dance is tailor-made to rhythm rather than the four step, which is pretty common with most music, is that if you listen to any music whatsoever, it's always 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and on and on and on and on. I mean, there might be a bridge breakdown where things kind of go into a certain transition, but for the most part, everything pretty much remains 4/4 in all music, pop or otherwise. Like,
yeah, 4/4 is very common.
It's pretty much across the board. Like I never hear a song that does the 3/4 terms like 1 2 3 1 2 3. Otherwise, it's like German music where you have the waltz and all that stuff. But for the most part, if you don't like, most music is pretty much dumbed down to a certain degree where it's always just the 4/4 time.
And that's why we like ska. It has downbeats.
Yeah, and the upbeats are fun. All right, so here is Jungle on the 74. All right. And then we'll see about bringing back. I mean, we'll definitely want to play some more City Club, but then let's talk about Election, the movie.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No, honestly, it's so funny how much beef he has with like a 16-year-old.
Really, like seriously, it's insane. It's like when you think about it in the perspective of things, it's like, what is going on with this whole thing?
Yeah. I'll go teach high school, right?
It's like, you know, it's like they're children. This is the bottom line of it's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Like man, I gotta get off Instagram because every time I go on Instagram, there's like some kind of celebrity unnecessary trivia. And because since you brought up Reese Witherspoon, because she's in Election, there was a picture of her and her daughter. Her daughter looks very much like what Reese Witherspoon looked like when she was in like Legally Blonde.
Oh, yeah.
And like, you know, it's kind of crazy how genetics work a lot of times because, you know, I knew a family where the mom looked like the son and the dad looked like the daughter.
Yeah.
And it's almost like verbatim. Like the skin tone was even the matching because, you know, like the father had like a darker skin tone, the daughter had a darker skin tone, the mother had a lighter skin tone, and then the son had like really wider skin tone. So it's kind of interesting to kind of see the dynamics of genetics about what works for what thing and then the gender separation.
Genetics are all mushy.
It really is.
They are all mushy. You know, there's like the Punnett squares.
Yeah.
You remember doing those?
Yes.
And, you know, that works for some things. But
yeah, but people, like, once you look at it, it's like you turn it sideways, like, oh, there's more to it.
Yeah, there's so much more to it.
And that's where redheads come from. Like, I don't care if there's like, oh, it's a recessive gene. It's like, no, they come. They're coming, Neil. The redheads, no matter what, there's always room for redheads.
Yeah.
In all families whatsoever, because my nephew with no family on either side of the family that have any kind of major redheads in our family.
Well, that's
boom,
not even
redhead.
getting into epigenetics.
Yeah.
Which is its own whole thing.
Yeah, because we're looking at that four square when it turns out it's probably just like one of those cubes.
Yeah, or even more.
Even more so.
Yeah, there's so many factors.
Yeah, what if you eat a red hot chili pepper and your kid has purple hair when it's born? No, that's a little bit of a stretch, but you know what I mean. Because, you know,
don't lecture me with your $30 haircut, Scott.
That I cut myself.
With that red hot chili pepper.
The red hot chili pepper smile and that Lincoln Park stank.
Stop taking the shit. You know what's really funny?
Oh, we're almost done.
Oh.
All right, we're back.
You know what's really funny, Scott?
What?
This is just not going to make sense to any of the listeners, but it's going to make sense to you, and it might be funny. My wife, whenever she hears Weezer, her first thought is that Red Hot Chili Peppers? Yeah, you know, just that kind of like... alt rock,
90s grunge.
90s grunge,
90s
exactly.
grunge. Yeah, it's like listening to Linkin Park and then switching over and listening to Smashing Pumpkins.
Yeah.
Like there's some parts of Smashing Pumpkins there's like yeah, and then other things.
On my radar, there's a rat in a cage.
And then there's like the smooth singing, and then you have a Chop Suey by
System of a Down.
System of a Down, which is very much like very interesting kind of like concepts of like and they go harmony.
The high pitch harmony, System of a Down, the government.
You know,
Terracotta Pie.
with the movies that are coming out, most people are kind of being like, the new movies, we're getting grumpy old men kind of mindset when it comes to movies, and we're kind of going more digging back into the past vault for some old movies. And you want to talk about this other movie that
Yeah, I just watched Election,
Yep.
1999, starring Reese Witherspoon and Matthew Broderick.
Yes, Matthew Broderick is a pretty prolific actor, especially in the 80s and 90s. He's done some little works, and it's always nice to see him in movies now and again.
Yeah, it's like, hey, I know who that is.
Yeah, and he's always a great voice actor, too, because wasn't he in Over the Garden Wall?
Was he?
He could have been. Okay, besides looking it up, don't look it up. We're going to talk about election.
okay.
So election is essentially just a high school election. Matthew Broderick is a teacher who's in charge of the
Yeah,
election
he's a
committee.
Social studies teacher.
Election committee, all that stuff. So he's going to be working intimately with the school elected president of their school,
Who he has beef with.
who has beef with because she had an extramarital affair with an older man.
Well, not only that, she's a know-it-all.
Also,
Yes, yeah.
So the movie really paints it from his perspective of just demonizing this girl throughout the whole entire movie.
Yeah, there
and
are parts from her perspective, though.
Yes.
She narrates, too.
Oh yeah, there's a jump around narration. So it's one of those like kind of like late 90s comedy movies where it kind of feels like it's a borderline John Hughes vibe to it, but still has the mindset of, American Pie, a lot of those kind of movies. There's a lot of movies at that time that just never really stuck. Jason Biggs, he was like really big and he wanted to just do movies only.
Yeah.
Like I heard that he was also given the title role of How I Met Your Mother before they gave it to someone else, but he thought he was too big to go to television.
Okay.
And nobody
It
really
was at
hears
a
from him.
time where television wasn't prestige yet.
Okay. So in the movie Election, what was your favorite parts?
Oh, favorite parts. Let's see. I like when Reese Witherspoon's character is like she thinks she's gonna win the election. She's like, act humble, and then Matthew Broderick's character cheated, so she didn't win, and she stands up on the other guy's name basically, and it's a moment where everything kind of collides.
My favorite parts usually were when they did a freeze frame of Reese Witherspoon at the most unflattering
That's a good
positions.
one.
There's always a nice little key. But the way that, like, if you watch it now and it's like, okay, I can't really empathize with Matthew Broderick's character.
No,
even
he's
though
terrible.
He's terrible, but he's played in such a nice way. It kind of reminds me of William H. Macy in Fargo, where he's like a perfectly nice guy and everything like
he's
that.
nice.
But he does just the worst decisions to try to, like, get money because, he has his rich father-in-law, doesn't want anything to do with it.
Well,
but with Election, it's just a lot of things and moving parts all at once.
Election says its themes right up front, and that's ethics versus morals.
Exactly.
Right? And so, like, he thinks of himself as a good person, and he's nice and whatnot, but basically at every turn, he just does something morally questionable.
Yes.
Yeah, and then, like, it ends with him losing his teacher's job, so...
It's just insane to think about
Right, well, and
altogether.
he, like... What really ties it all together is right there at the end is he sees his former student there. Now she's an assistant for some representative.
Yeah, whatever.
Right.
And he's like works for the Smithsonian or something.
Yeah. He's a museum
Tour guide or
tour
whatever.
guide now, right? And so he sees her get into this limo, and he's like, and I wasn't even mad anymore. And then he throws his like milkshake at the limo and runs away, and that's the end of the movie.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, he ruined his life.
Yeah.
Because of some beef with with a girl who it wasn't even her fault.
No.
Like
exactly.
they twist to a certain degree to sympathize and empathize with Matthew Broderick's character, but he does everything in his power to like ruin not only his life but his own students.
Well, yeah, and at the end it's like, wow, he was kind of terrible. It
really
also
was.
doesn't treat his pedophile friend very kindly either.
Oh,
which
no,
is
no.
great. He's gone within 5 minutes of the movie.
Yeah, because that was the incited incident. That's essentially Act 1 that they kind of mull over when they jump into the story.
There's the great cutaway where I think her name's Tracy. Yeah, the Reese Witherspoon's character. she's like, sometimes I still think about him. I wonder if he finished his novel. And then it cuts to him and he's working in a hardware store.
Of course.
He's just scanning items.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like sometimes people can get a real big hit and blow to their whole life. Their whole life can be uprooted. You lose everything, family, all that stuff, and then you don't stop existing.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Is it's like you really think about it. Is like people don't just go away.
Mm-hmm.
They're just done from that job in that area.
Yeah.
But they're not going to go away.
No.
This is not how it works.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Anyway, Election. Solid
movie. And if you like that movie and kind of like the gimmicks and the things behind that, because it was pretty realistic when it comes to a lot of those kind of themes of overreaching authority mixed in with kids just trying to figure out themselves while they're navigating themselves through high school. And another suggestion I have was Will Ferrell and Zach Galifianakis' movie, The Campaign. Yeah. It was a movie, you haven't even seen it, but you'd love it because it satirizes, campaign and elections and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. And Will Ferrell is basically cheating on his wife on a regular basis. Mm-hmm. And that's just like the preliminary stuff leading up to it. And Zach Galifianakis is essentially just invested by the Koch brothers, quote unquote, who basically want to build a Chinese factory in their hometown with Chinese labor.
Right.
So instead of, they call it insourcing. And so that was their big plan. John Lithgow was one of the rich guys, and he worked with other people. But this part was like the dark side of politics and investing money and stuff like that. And I really like it because the ridiculousness of this movie was emphasized to a point that now even most elections to this day and age really feels like that.
Yeah.
Where it's all you got to be a go-to guy and all that kind of stuff, and how far you can push the boundaries.
Yeah, I've been rewatching the Harley Quinn show.
Yes.
And they just finished up their where I'm at the show is they just finished the mayor election arc.
Yes, with the Joker winning.
With the Joker winning, right? But you've got Two-Face as Commissioner Gordon's campaign manager, just and that's perfect.
It is.
He's just does the morally wrong thing at every turn.
Yeah,
and the commissioner is always surprised. You don't. I'm two-faced. It's my whole thing.
Yeah, it's hilarious. I like how they turn him into more of just like a comedic relief version, because Two-Face character has always been a tortured character, just the biggest betrayal because he was best friends with Bruce Wayne's character.
Yeah,
They're going to take down organized crime, and then he joined them.
Yeah, no, this Two-Face is just two-faced.
Yeah, and apparently this new Batman Part 2 is essentially, in some ways, going to have another Two-Face origin story again.
Oh yeah.
So that's a lot of rumors going on right about Part 2, because they're adding all sorts of actors. They're adding the Winter Soldier from Marvel. They're also asking Scarlett Johansson to be in the new Batman movie, and so there's a lot of
cross. Who she play?
I don't know, probably.
Because they already have a Catwoman.
Yeah, maybe Poison Ivy of some kind.
I could see her as an Ivy.
I don't know. If anything, she might just be a generic character with the DA that works under Harvey Dent. Harvey Dent.
Maybe she'll be Barbara Gordon.
Yeah. Or, really?
You think so? She'd be a bit older for that.
Yeah.
Barbara Gordon's supposed to be 25?
Yeah, she's much younger for sure, because, the Robert Pattinson, they call it in the news, which is always funny when they try to they try to incorporate those kind of things.
Names, yeah.
But I would probably say Robert Pattinson had probably the lowest key introduction to being the Batman.
Yeah.
People are just like, okay, whatever. The movie as a whole is good, and he's a part of it, rather than being like, oh, he's the Batman. He's Michael Keaton.
He's vengeance.
Exactly. He's the knight. All right. So we do have some people talking over at City Club right now, so we're going to tune in live to our video. So here they are.
Series of wells, a supply well and then a discharge well, and we're able to use the water temperature that's coming out of the ground to cool our buildings. That probably isn't feasible out at the Y unless we looked at some type of different systems. So certainly a lot of focus around water reuse and otherwise, but the scale and scope of the plan that we put together didn't focus much on clean energy. We did spend a lot of time focusing on reducing vehicle miles traveled, and that notion that we want to capture as many trips as we can to reduce our carbon footprint from that perspective. I don't know if anybody else has got anything to add on that front.
Just on the wastewater treatment system, there early discussion about They consume electricity like everything else does. So prepping it so that allowing solar in the future is there. So in terms of the structure of the building and the treatment facilities are designed so that it can allow for solar in the future. At the outset, that's I don't think going to go into phase one, but the infrastructure should be there.
Hey, everybody. I'm Steph Dolan from the Pavarello Center. Lucky for you guys, I will not talk about homelessness today. But my question is, have you guys seen a success story similar to what you're talking about, especially as it relates to creating a hub around advanced manufacturing, given that many of those economic opportunities result in kind of middle income levels? And how are developers going to react to the need to build kind of middle income housing in that community to fill that gap, especially the gap that we have here in Missoula too?
Yeah, thank you for the question. That's the economic development and housing are tied together. So the attraction of employers, one of the main things that they look at is the cost of the housing for their team before they come in and hire. So they do these workforce studies and housing studies. So it's almost of a chicken and the egg problem of that you need the ability to provide housing at a reasonable price, both for sale and for rent. And then that helps to attract the manufacturing side and vice versa. And so one of the things that the county has done very well is when the zoning update that they did 3 or 4 years ago now allows for this wide variety of housing types. So you're not as constrained to building a single family home on a 7,800 square foot lot or 5,400 square foot lot. You have the ability to add additional units and different housing types. So you're not stuck with a 2,000 square foot, 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. You could do several units that are smaller. You could do cottage developments, things like that, where you have these different access points in. So providing the middle income housing. So that's been very helpful from the county to allow for that side of it. And then I think pairing it with the infrastructure, water, sewer, roads, broadband, all those sorts of things. They're like dual magnets that you have to have both of them simultaneously. There's much larger economic development questions and attraction efforts that are ongoing with innovation hubs and some of those things to bring in some of the advanced manufacturing. We have a very good seed for a couple of industries in Missoula. And so the hope is that if you have the two elements, the housing plus the infrastructure, that you then can start the snowball rolling in terms of attracting that kind of industry. But I think MEP and...
All right, so there's a little taste of City Club. And, the developers are talking about, the future plans of the Y site, trying to build up that housing. Workforce housing was the key term to get federal subsidies to build this whole neighborhood in the first place. So they get some federal funding. They promise it's going to be for workforce housing. And they got that passed. This is like during the Biden administration. So this has been a long time coming. And so the whole idea behind this is like developing a whole brand new neighborhood of affordable housing units with this federal subsidy to help bolster housing stock, but a little bit more towards the workforce housing, middle work, all that stuff. You probably listened to a little bit of that. Yeah. Some of that things going there. But, it's one option. That's the thing. Is that, it's like people always think of like, this isn't the end all be all, the solution to everything. This is just the solution to help bolster middle working class type things. And I think that's one of the things that the city of Missoula has been really advocating for, is trying to figure out how to fill in some of those gaps for workforce housing, middle income kind of housing, that kind of stuff. And, it is unfortunate that we're living in a time where everything's more expensive, cost of housing, food, groceries, and stuff like that. That is something that is definitely beyond the local government's control, because everything trickles down from the federal government. Not to mention, we were mentioning earlier in the show too, is that the Fed is basically being sued and targeted by the DOJ, the Department of Justice, and that's just this week alone. And so with this kind of option, they're basically creating a whole new neighborhoods with a bunch of new housing stock. And yes, it might be earmarked for workforce housing, but housing buildings will be built, and very much like the unfortunate nature of Habitat for Humanities is that the first people who move into the home gets the affordability bonus, but if they decide to sell, it's market rate value, which means it's back on the market, is just as valued as everything else on the market. So Habitat for Humanity is great for building the homes for low-income families, but the resale, forget about it. The resale is market value, and so there's that crutch to that. But with your workforce housing, we have that subsidy to help build that. But that's just how I interpret it too. Everybody can interpret it their own way. Workforce housing is just one of the many buzzwords these days to get things off the ground.
Yeah.
Like Southgate Commons is another one of the things that even with the city of Missoula has been talking about building more middle income housing and also a park with the developer. And there's been a lot of back and forth, a lot of people in the community near the neighborhoods as well. And since I'm on this train of thought, we can talk about the Unified Development Code. And so the city of Missoula is going to be presenting the Unified Development Code tonight at 6 p.m. for their live meeting. So they're doing this as a public hearing. And so that means they're going to be voting on it sometime by end of this month while they're doing committee meetings on Wednesdays for land use and planning. They're going to be talking about the guardrails in place to make sure what development's going to go, place type zoning, floor area type zoning as well, which essentially means that because the state is laxing requirements on parking, because back in the day before 2020s is that you'd have to provide 2 parking spots per dwelling unit essentially. They've kind of reduced that to less than or equal to 1 parking spot per dwelling unit. And City of Missoula is their code, and from what I've been seeing is that they're utilizing that space to help bolster affordable housing and also figuring out this kind of high density building, how it mixes up with amenities. And what I mean by amenities is local services, grocery stores, all that kind of stuff within walking distance. They're trying to make sure it's more available. So you can expect higher density to be in certain areas where they're going to have those kind of walkability for businesses. And they're trying to encourage development when they do buildings, is that if they do buildings that go against the curb, especially corner type properties, they want to make sure that people can get access from walking on the street, and also at the same time having parking lot in the back rather than the parking lot in the front where you have to wade through the whole large parking lot to get to those businesses, which is very car forward, kind of development. So the city of Missoula is trying to work with what they got and trying to expand that. And so I think the one thing that I definitely notice is that where it gives a little bit more wiggle room than most people probably feel comfortable with is the transitional zoning. So transitional mixed use is the fancy new term that they changed from industrial zoning, which is what they use to transition North Side to the Scott Street Rivara project development. So that was industrial. That was solely industrial. And so they worked with the city. I mean, this is all during the pandemic. They did this all remotely, and they're trying to figure out what they're going to do with this property that they acquired. And that's why they created the land trust, the community land trust, the big popular, the new thing. This is kind of like, oh, we're going to be selling these duplexes at market rate so we can help pay for and keeping it affordable for these house types on this other side. And so, that's the thing about developers is that one of the biggest issues that developers are going on right now is cost of materials, because they got to buy from someone bigger than them so they can make sure they can build the housing that becomes the expensive housing that we're seeing today.
Yes.
So it's not fair for them because they're putting a lot of stock in their own thing, because every month, every week is, imagine losing $10,000, $20,000 a week because development problems and stuff like that. So they got to make sure that they're all their ducks in a row to make sure everything's all good to go. And the Y development is yet another one of those big projects where they're trying to figure out workforce housing, but also include infrastructure. Infrastructure is the key word. And the county of Missoula is doing targeted economic development districts, which means it's kind of like what SIDs used to do for building sidewalks here in Missoula. We're just community, come together. We want you to build a sidewalk, and you're going to pay for it through an SID. So we're going to put a tax on this block, so the people in that block will pay for that sidewalk. So the TED is essentially what they're doing preemptively for the future taxes of the area. So the people who are going to be moving into these TEDs will be paying for those taxes for their infrastructure moving forward, which makes sense, right? But SIDs have always kind of rubbed people the wrong way. I think the last special improvement district in Missoula was the Hillview Way. That street that goes adjacent to southwest to Chief Charlotte School.
Yeah.
That was a big deal trying to convert it, because when it got icy out there, that was a hill.
That's
and
true.
people would be sliding into the intersection.
That's true.
So,
I
and there was a
remember
lot, and there was a lot of things going back and forth. There's even a lawsuit against the city because there were people who owned land up there who didn't want to pay for the road because they just owned the land.
that.
So they made a deal. There's just like, if you decide to develop, we're gonna use that as the tax leverage to use SIDs to activate when you start developing in that area.
Okay.
So you don't get a benefit from the road after the fact. You still have to pay into it. So that was the arrangement that they did because, why pay for a road that you don't use?
Yeah.
So that was kind of like that goes counter to special improvement districts. It's like, well, I don't use the sidewalk. Why should Franklin to the Fort pay for university sidewalks? And that's kind of where SIDs kind of come into place because there's no sidewalk district. I mean, sidewalks themselves are just like, ugh. Just like you build a sidewalk next to a tree and then 15...
you want to do that because shade.
Exactly. But then 10, 15 years later when the tree gets too big, it uproots the sidewalk. And then you got to pay the $25,000 just to get the sidewalk rebalanced. And so that's something I had to deal with in my neighborhood.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, I'm all for trees.
Yeah.
But then as soon as we had to fix the sidewalks, all the trees were gone. So what's the solution for this? So that's one thing. It's like we want to build a boulevard to have that gap between traffic and pedestrian. Are trees necessary? We want trees. We love trees. We lost all those trees during that storm. That's the tightrope we always have to walk. Is like, are we doing what's best for the community, best for the neighborhood? And even there's some neighborhoods are just like, we don't really have walkability in our neighborhood. We want to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And that's what the Unified Development Code is going to be talking about because,
some neighborhoods are really hard to walk.
Exactly.
Like you mentioned Franklin to the Fort. Like sidewalks are limited out there.
Yes, especially on Eaton Street, which pretty much feels like a throughway. Like
Eaton
Russell
barely has any.
I mean, Russell could have just as easily been one of those simple roads, just like everything else. But it became such a major throughway for a lot of people going to and from, the highway, a nice little cutway through because. I've noticed is that
Russell all the way to Brooks.
Like especially when you're like a big semi truck and you're trying to get through town, it's like, oh, there's a roundabout you have to navigate through, especially the Rattlesnake. Can you imagine getting off of the Rattlesnake on
That's true.
Giant one of those things?
Yeah.
You have to be somewhat familiar, and Reserve Street's like one of the only few places left that has like a non-roundabout access from the highway to the city.
Stay off Reserve.
But yeah, I mean, that's the thing about planning is the city is incorporated like over like 16 zone types just to figure out what transitional mixed use, urban residential, urban, commercial, industrial, even allowing what constitutes as commercial and residential neighborhoods. One prime example is daycares. Daycares is a great example of putting commercial property in a typical residential neighborhood.
Yeah.
And so this Unified Development Code basically said either it's the middle house or the house on the corner that has daycare, which also includes, I guess, the daycare in my neighborhood, which is the closest one next to Franklin School, the one on the corner.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I know the one.
Yeah. And it makes a lot of sense, when you have those kind of places. But that's the whole idea is like, oh, do we want that tattoo shop off of Catlin and 5th Street?
Oh, that one.
Remember that one? There's a tattoo shop and the color little business there, and then there's mostly residential in that area.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm only picking on Franklin to Fort because I am the Franklin to the Fort people.
Well, and you want some things close by. Like you want to make sure you have a grocery store close by.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like one of the big things that I've been hearing about in Bonner is that they want to develop more residential areas, but a lot of people have this distaste for the tavern. Because they have a tavern component to help pay for the rest of the development in the area, and they've been a lot of back and forth because people associate taverns with casinos, gas stations, vagrancy, all that kind of stuff, and people are worried about that because they already have their main gas station in Bonner with their one restaurant, maybe their cafe. But yeah, it's their amenities there. They're growing, but they're very heavily reliant on workforce here in Missoula. So a lot of them work here in Missoula while they live out in Bonner. Yeah. And it's not
I've thought about it.
It's not an old thing.
Yeah.
I mean, even Lolo, a lot of people move to Lolo. They're expanding like crazy. They are finally tearing down the old school.
Yes.
So they can develop. They're not rebuilding. They're tearing it down.
Place.
Oh, they have a new
school.
They've had a new place for a while.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're fine. But their old school place is being redeveloped into parkland up on the hill, and then more residential down below.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, Lolo is another one of those growing communities just by proxy of Missoula because by 2045, Missoula should grow by 20,000 more people, and they're going to figure out exactly where to fit those
Wow.
people.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's a lot of more people for sure. And that's kind of where I want to end the show on. You're listening to 101.5 KFGM.
And
Do you have anything else you want to say before we wrap up? Because I kind of went on a rant there for like
No.
10 minutes.
I'm Neil.
I'm Scott.
Thanks for listening.
Take care, guys.